Okay. We are live, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry about the hiccup there at the beginning. This is our new setup, and there was a little bit of a hiccup there at the beginning. There's no doubt that we're gonna get this intro more fluid as we roll along. I don't know, there was an extra delay for some reason, Tony, and I have no idea why, but there was this little extra delay that happened, and it said we were live, and you were like, I'm not seeing anything, and I'm like, I'm not seeing anything, and then all of a sudden it kicked in, and I was like, fuck that, we're just gonna recycle the intro again. But you know what, these things happen, it's our first go. The important thing is that it worked.
Yeah, and
that's the important thing.
By the comments here, everyone seems to really like this new setup. So, yeah, no, I mean, that's technology, man. When you're learning new software, shit's always going to go wonky the first time out. So
yes, exactly. Now, let me just, I said to myself I was going to bring up the live feed over here to make sure that we are okay. And there we are. And there we go. I can watch the live feed. We're looking good. Yes.
So we're now two dudes in some professional bullshit.
Yeah. That's right. We hey folks, how you doing? Dave McRae here with Tony Michael in the other window. We obviously thanks to your super chats, your donations towards the channel has helped contribute to the purchase of some more software, and we are able to sort of up our game a little bit in production value. Now, again, this isn't the sort of where we're going to end. It's going to continue to grow from here, but we wanted to take it to the next level for our 25th anniversary special. And in case you're just joining us, there was a little bit of a hiccup at the beginning. We went live, and then I was like, fuck it, let's do the intro again, because I wanted you guys to see the intro from start to finish. But anyway, we will take care of it. We'll be smooth as a baby's bottom, as they say. In the next few shows. So, so this is episode 25 of Two Dudes and Some Bullshit. Tony, how the hell are you?
Dude, I'm doing great, man. How the hell are you guys doing? How are you guys doing up in Toronto? Tied 1-1 there with Golden State.
We are tied. We should be up 2-0.
I know. Yes, I agree.
We should. And listen, I understand that the Golden State Warriors have one of the greatest third quarter records in the NBA. They seem to just come out of the half and are on fire. But there is no excuse for an 18-0 run. I mean, 18-10 maybe, 18-11, but I'm like, I'm watching the game and I'm sitting there thinking, are you like, okay, 18, hey, it's the Golden State Warriors, right? I mean, they're known to do this, but we get nothing? It was almost like it was happening. It's almost like the Raptors, like it was scripted. It felt like it was scripted. I was like, oh, right, here's the quarter where the Golden State Warriors come on fire. Right, everybody? We all set? Okay, and go. And the Raptors like, hey, we got to play like shit because this is it was so bad that it felt scripted.
Right. Really did.
Anyway, nonetheless, they are tied 1-1, and it's still anybody's series. It's a best of 5 now, so tomorrow night is game 3 from the Oracle in Oakland. Fingers crossed.
I have a feeling you guys are bringing the title home. I do. It's just that instinct. I was talking about it with my father here. My father's a big NBA fan, and I was just like, man, I just got this feeling like you just know when something's gonna happen. And even though, yeah, they did go on that 18-year run, and I was like sitting there thinking like Dave's got to be pulling his hair out, and like this is not good. And like when they went to the locker room like that night, they're like, we should be up to what the fuck. And I think that mentality is going to carry over into game 3. And I do. I think you guys are bringing the title home.
Yeah. I've had that feeling all playoffs, and the Raptors have been very good at coming back. They've been, they were down 2-1 to Philly. I mean, granted, Philly's not Golden State. I understand that. They were down 2-0 to Milwaukee. And they came back and they won 4 straight.
Yep.
Is it going to be difficult because Durant is out and because Thompson could be out and other people, Golden State is a bit banged up. So if the Raptors win it, of course, there's going to be the narrative. No, well, you only won it because we were banged up, fuckers. If we had everybody, but it's like, hey, listen, there's no asterisks beside championships, guys. You know what I mean? You can go through the line and you can look at even the Golden State Warriors' first championship against the Cavaliers in 2015. I think Love was hurt for the Cavaliers. There was somebody else really good that was hurt, and nobody. People get banged up. A win is a win, right? You gotta work with the cards you're dealt. I got a good feeling. We'll see how it goes.
Speaking
Come on,
of
Raptors.
Win is a win. Would you say it's a big win for Mr. Robert Pattinson or what?
I would say this is a big win for Mr. Robert Pattinson. And the reason why is because Robert Pattinson, in my opinion, is a great actor. And a lot of people who are complaining about this casting, I'm not saying everybody, but the vast majority of people that I seem to sort of see complaining about this, and you know their knowledge, their depth of knowledge when it comes to Robert Pattinson because of the way they make fun of the idea of Robert Pattinson being the next Batman. And I'll, give you an example. If somebody somebody was informed about Robert Pattinson and they just didn't like Robert Pattinson. I've seen a couple of his movies. I've watched, here and there. I've seen him in this, seen him in that. And I just don't like the guy. It has nothing to do with Twilight. I just don't like the guy. You would be able to tell that by the way they construct the criticism or the witty remark or the sarcastic, remark because of what they're saying. Not a big fan, saw him in this, don't really like him, can't stand his fate. Well, whatever it is, right? But 98% of the criticism tends to be coming from, ooh, sparkly Batman, Twilight, fucking Twilight. It's all centered around Twilight, and I get it. It's the biggest thing he's ever done in his career in terms of entering the pop culture consciousness. I get it. I understand it. Okay? I get that Twilight was a series that guys love to make fun of, and Batman's a man's movie, right? Is Batman a fucking little Edward from Twilight coming into the Batman of fucking shit? I get it. I understand it 100%. But Warner Brothers has not hired Edward from Twilight. They've hired Robert Pattinson, the actor, who just so happens to be, in my opinion, a really good actor. Now, I'm not saying he's up there with Pacino or, Daniel Day-Lewis, but when you watch him in the other smaller independent films he's done, like Good Time and, what's there one called? Life, I think, too? There's several films. I wrote them down. I'll bring them up in a second. That I've watched him in, that I'm like, dude, like, I don't even think of Edward when I'm watching this. He molds himself into a role so well. He's very talented. And you hear people saying that. We're not saying that because we're trying to defend this choice. We're saying it because, hey, that's actually not, maybe it wouldn't have been our first choice, but that's not a bad choice. And so I just think that, you know how I am when it comes about, there's a difference between an opinion and an informed opinion. Everybody can have an opinion, right? But fewer people have informed opinions. And informed opinions is based on evidence and facts. And if you've watched his films and you come to the same conclusion that you're not a fan of it, then all the power to you. But if you want me to take you seriously, if you want me to, hear you out and hear your opinion, then you better come to the table with more than Twilight. Because if all you're coming to the table with is Twilight, I don't care. And it's no disrespect. It's just that all you have is Twilight, right? So I have much more than Twilight. I've watched, 4 or 5 of his films, whereas you've maybe watched nothing. So I can't take you seriously. I can't hear you out. And when you make the comments and the snarky remarks, it's noise, right? So if you want to be taken seriously in anything, you got to make sure that you're at least informed on it, because then it might surprise you. I mean, let's not forget. I was young, and you remember this, Tony, when Michael Keaton was cast as Batman. And people were like, Michael Keaton? Batman? Right? Like movies like Mr. Mom? Like, what the fuck? And to this day, people still consider him one of, if not the best Batman we've ever had. And the same thing happened with Heath Ledger and the Joker. The guy from fucking Brokeback Mountain and 10 Things I Hate About You, or whatever that movie was. Him? The guy from Brokeback Mountain? Look what happened. So I'm not saying that that's going to happen with Robert, but I am very excited about it because I think he's a very talented actor and he's much more than Edward. But I understand why people, because, you know, Twilight is the only thing that he's done that's embedded itself into the pop culture on a mainstream level that's immediately at our disposal. In order to actually see what he's like as an actor objectively, we have to go and search out for those independent movies that are not immediately there on our, Netflix or Hulu or, we have to go find those things. So I understand that it takes a little bit of effort, but if you do it, you may be surprised and you may be thinking, wow, actually, you know what? This actually might be kind of interesting. I don't know, Tony, how do you feel about this casting?
Oh, I'm excited. Look, I mean, we've talked about this ad nauseum on, our shows, Happy 25th too.
Yes.
That we're not comic book guys. We're horror guys. We've been horror guys, our whole lives. But I would say we're the cousins to the comic book world. Like if you got the comic book community here, we're like off right over here to the side doing our own thing in the horror world. But I know enough, and I have appreciated comic book movies growing up. Like you just pointed out here. To me, Michael Keaton is my Batman. He always will be my Batman. The only two Batman films that I enjoy watching are Batman and Batman Returns. I have the Christian Bale Batmans. I enjoy watching the Christian Bale Batmans. Obviously, Dark Knight's phenomenal with Heath Ledger's performance that you just brought up here a moment ago with Joker. But I'm not Christian Bale Batman, or even the same thing can be said for Ben Affleck's version of Batman. I liked it. It was enjoyable. I don't hate on it, but I didn't I'm pumping my fist here the moment I found out the news, because we talked about this, I'm going to say at least a couple months ago, when it was asked by one of our viewers how we felt the rumors of Robert Pattinson being casted to play Batman. I said, this is great because it's going to possibly, so much can go wrong. Bad script, bad directing. We've seen it with Suicide Squad and a lot of other DC films out there on what bad directing can create in a film. And poorly edited as well too. But this could potentially be a really good Batman, a reminiscence almost of the Michael Keaton type style Batman. Because the same thing can be said for Superman. I take nothing away from Henry Cavill, but to me, there's only one Superman, and that is Christopher Reeves. The only person that I could even remotely put, not in the same sentence, but in the same paragraph, would be Tom Welling. And Tom Welling, for those who don't know, was the star of Smallville, played Clark Kent, eventually became Superman. And even actually Christopher Reeve himself said that Tom Welling should have played Superman in Superman Returns. There was a convention here that Welling and Rosenbaum did here recently, and a fan asked him what was his best moment with Christopher Reeve, and that was the moment when Christopher Reeve himself is telling this to Tom. And I can only imagine Tom Welling must be like, okay, fuck, this is a high praise and compliment. But as far as Batman goes, to get back on that here, to me, Michael Keaton is my definitive Batman. I mean, I take nothing away from Adam West and the campy 60s TV show. That was all fun. But I think most of guys our age, we like Bale's Batman. I mean, that's mostly Nolan's, painting of a great masterpiece trilogy. And, I think we all can agree that Affleck was good. Unfortunately, he's just put into a really shitty, story with, Batman v Superman and, what they did in Justice League. It's not the actor's fault. I've said that repeatedly over and over and over again. Like, the reason why these films are not highly praised like the MCU is, it's not because of the actors, it's because of bad script writing, bad directing, bad editing. Watching these movies sometimes is like watching a YouTube vlogger. It's so choppy and it just doesn't make sense. So I think this is very promising. Like you've mentioned, and I've mentioned it to many people before, go watch Good Time and go watch a lot of his independent films. Don't base it on, not to be redundant and repeat what Dave just said here, base it on Twilight. Watch a lot of the stuff that he's been doing over the last 10 years, because I watch a lot of his independent films. I mentioned another one here that he did, Remember Me. It's a love story, but it's a good film. And you can see that he has really worked hard as an actor to, hone his skills down, that now I think even himself, because obviously he's doing it, feels confident enough to get back into some type of a big mainstream movie and isn't afraid to be typecasted or whatever. I think he's got that confidence up. You got to remember something too. what was he like? He was early 20s when he did Twilight. You know, when you're a 20-year-old, 21-year-old guy and you're being asked, hey, do you want to play the lead character in a phenomenon, you know, book series that is probably going to be loved by millions of teenage girls? Dude, there isn't a single dude out there isn't going to turn down that type of an opportunity. Unfortunately, yes, when you put yourself in that situation, it's going to come with some backlash, which you're going to get from most of the macho guys out there who secretly, as Dave and I said off camera, watch these movies with their girlfriends to get a little nookie action afterwards. You know, you would never pass down that opportunity. So no, for those who just base it solely on that and don't know the rest of his work, then like you said, you're being a naive movie fan, okay, by not educating yourself to learn more about who this actor is and why a lot of us, and there's a lot of other videos out there for people who do this professionally as far as like movie reviews and talk movies, that got, you know, other channels out there that do this, are saying the same thing that we're saying. A lot of people are on board with this, you know.
Yeah. Well, I think it's also important to remember as well that it surprises me actually that so many people, and look, I mean, you know, the internet, like I said last week, really the internet at the end of the day, and this is, you know, this is not personal to, again, it's not personal to anybody in the chat room or anybody specific, but when you have a YouTube channel and when you put yourself out there and you know, and you hear people chatting, or like, you know, you look at the forums, the internet at the end of the day is just one big 13-year-old girl. You know, it's just, I mean, it's just one spoiled little brat,
I've heard all day,
or a 13-year-old boy, or, you know, whatever the case is. I mean, pick your gender. I mean, really, at the end of the day, I mean, it's just so hyper. You know, everybody thinks their opinion matters, and everybody wants them to care. I want you to care about what I'm saying. And I want to care about your opinion. I want to care about it. But when it's so blatantly obvious that you are naive and ignorant about what you're talking about, and not everybody is, but when people are, and it's so obvious, it's difficult for somebody else to care, you know, about what you're saying. And it's not that you're not entitled to that opinion. Everybody's entitled to their opinion. But there's a difference between one that is informed and one that is just purely based on emotion. Right. And we tend to see that a lot. We tend to see the opinions based on emotion. Oh, that's why, and I get it. At face value, Edward from Twilight is Batman. Well, if that was it, at face value, it's like, you know, that's right. But again, right? Look what happened with Heath Ledger. Look what happened with Michael Keaton. And there's other examples of that. Hey, Hugh Jackman with Wolverine. Are you kidding me?
Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot.
I remember when Hugh Jackman was cast as Wolverine, everybody was like, Hugh Jackman as Wolverine? First of all, Wolverine is like Danny DeVito's height. Not quite, but, you know, he's like, you know, 5'2", you know, whatever he is, right? You know, in the comics. He's not a big guy. No, he's right? Not. But look what happened. The rest is history. Now, that doesn't mean necessarily that Pattinson is going to deliver. But it always surprises me because I think there's enough evidence, quantifiable evidence, right, that we have of this kind of thing happening in movie history and it working out. Now, there's evidence that it doesn't as well, but there's enough evidence that it does that I think it surprises me, but it doesn't, you know, surprise me that more people aren't like, well, okay, you know, not crazy on it, but, you know, I mean, look at, you know, Ben Affleck as Batman. I gotta say, it was pretty impressive. And Heath Ledger's Joker, and you know, Hugh Jackman, and all right, okay, you know, maybe I'll go check out some other stuff and kind of see how I feel, and you know, and no, that's because the internet is a 13-year-old boy, you know. You know, it's just you know, and it's hilarious to me. But if you are familiar with his work, you're actually quite excited about. Now, he has also recently been cast in Christopher Nolan's next movie that's coming out. Now, we don't have any information yet on the plot of what that is or what that's going to be about. But hey, Christopher Nolan is loved by fanboys everywhere. Okay. I mean, that's, I'm sure there's somebody that doesn't, like him, but generally speaking, people love Christopher Nolan movies. Okay. So Robert Pattinson has just been cast in Christopher Nolan's secretive next movie, which I believe, I stand to be corrected, but I believe that movie will be out well before The Batman. So we will have an opportunity to see Robert Pattinson in a big blockbuster, Christopher Nolan movie before The Batman. Okay.
Well, when is I thought they were supposed to start production on The Batman at the end of this year.
They are, but I believe The Batman is not due out until 2021, I believe.
Yeah. I think you're right on that.
Yes, The Batman is not. Yes, right now it says June 25th, 2021. So, and the Christopher Nolan project is, I believe Christopher Nolan's next project is due out. Okay. So we know. Okay, we know what the movie's called. It's called Tenet. 2020. Yes. The plot is currently, it's Tenet. Tenet. It's a action drama, thriller, and it's due out July 17th, 2020, and it stars Robert Pattinson. Okay, so now again, as I just said, we haven't seen Robert Pattinson in anything really sort of, mainstream in quite some time. You know what I mean? Really, he's really well known for the Twilight films. Those are the movies that not only put him into the pop culture consciousness, but the movies as a whole were really embedded, so much so that the main cast has their footprints and handprints at the Chinese theater in Hollywood, which I think is hilarious. But anyway, I think you should reserve that for real icons, but that's a whole other fucking video I could talk about. But anyway, so nonetheless, there they are because of the pop culture significance and the impact it had, at that time. But since then, he's gone sort of into obscurity and he's doing small things. So the Christopher Nolan movie is going to be a really interesting film for those of you that have no interest in watching Robert Pattinson in his other films. And no doubt there are many of you. But you're probably big Christopher Nolan fans and you will probably rush out to see that new movie next summer. Well, Robert Pattinson is your lead. So this is a movie that a lot of eyeballs will be on. And if Christopher Nolan is casting him, that might say something right there. You know what I'm saying?
I think it was smart for him to do what he did after the whole Twilight thing came to an end and take the independent film route. Because it really did give him a chance to grow as an actor, work on his skills as an actor, because you can clearly see if you watch Twilight and then you go and watch Good Time, which is, you're talking a span of not even 7 years, because it's 7 years since the last Twilight film was made, to this current date. But Good Time came out last year. So you're talking about 6 years. In a span of 6 years, the amount of work that you can really see that he has done as an actor and honing his skills and honing his craft, it's been tremendous to watch him grow. And you're right. Yeah, most people are not. Like, I love independent films. I think they're great. I support them. And will always continue to support them. And so I have been watching him in all the, the different films out there. And it's just like you shaking your head, like, I can't believe it's the same dude. I cannot believe it's the same dude who was sparkling in this movie is delivering me this kick-ass performance. Like,
right.
It really is amazing. And that's why, going back to, the question that was asked to us a few months ago, and when, was asked, the rumor of him, I was so on board with this. And I have not been this excited. And I don't get excited for comic book movies, but I think the excitement is the potential of what they could possibly do with all of this if all goes well, which is a big if.
Yes. And you're right, because I said about, 4.5 months ago, or maybe it wasn't quite that long ago, but I have been saying, yeah, maybe, but I don't think it was when I said it on here, but I have been saying this for a while, that I don't believe that the Batman, judging by what I've heard, what I've read, because like I said, one of the things that I talked about on my channel when I was doing all the Halloween stuff was, it's really important to be able to understand cinematic language. And, when you understand certain things of what producers say and what they mean, and there's the, cinematic political rhetoric being said, when you understand sort of how the fabric of the industry works, it doesn't mean you're going to be right, but you can sort of start to piece things together and then make sort of an educated guess or an informed opinion, right? Based on, well, you know what, they've been saying this was, and a lot of what I'd been hearing about the movie and about what Matt Reeves was doing and about what, Warner Brothers was doing the
whole detective route,
a whole thing.
Well, he is the world's. I mean, technically, I know this, and I'm not a comic book guy. Batman is the world's greatest detective, and
that's what they call him. Yeah,
and it's never really been. I mean, I guess you can sort of say Keaton's character did a little bit of that, and Bale's, a little bit. But in talking with other people who are more educated in this, the whole detective side of Batman really hasn't been tackled. It's more skimmed the surface.
It's skimmed the surface, and I just, when I was hearing everything that was falling, and I don't know anybody obviously who works at Warner Brothers. When I was there for the Voice Arts Awards, I tried to sort of ask a few people if they knew anybody about it, and of course to no avail. And even if I could, they probably wouldn't tell me anyway. But that being said, I just had this funny suspicion. Everything that I was piecing together, and it's about probability, right? And I just thought it would not, and you heard me say this, it would not surprise me if if the Batman is not connected to the DCEU. And I had a lot of messages from people. No, Dave, you're nuts. Of course it is. They even said that it's supposed to be a younger Batman, this, that, and the other. And I said, and you could very well be right. But I'm sticking to my guns, and it would not surprise me. And I also said it wouldn't surprise me if Joaquin Phoenix Joker. Now, I understand that these are supposed to be completely separate. I get it. I understand it. And it could be like that. But I don't buy for 1 second that there isn't some, at the very least, talking going on about what if the Joker is very good. Doesn't have to be off the charts, big blockbuster, billion-dollar movie. It's a Joker film. It's not going to be that. But it's just really good. Very good movie. And The Batman is a very good movie. Like, we're talking like now DC's got a Joker movie and a Batman movie that is really good, that are both really good and really well liked.
Exactly. And in talking with my sources, my brother, who's a comic book guy, and talking to a comic book store owner and people at the store, Warner Brothers, from what I understand, is creating this world of DC. And I was talking about this with Dave before we went live. And the world of DC that Warner Brothers is creating is that you've got your main timeline here. And the main timeline is Man of Steel, Aquaman, Wonder Woman, Justice League, BVS. That is your main timeline. Creating these worlds of DC, which, apparently in the DC comic book world, there's all these alternate universes and shit, allows Warner Brothers to create these alternate timelines. So like you can do possibly a standalone Joker film, also possibly a standalone Batman trilogy with Matt Reeves. But I agree with you 100% because there's no freaking way, if I'm a producer or I'm an executive at Warner Brothers and you got two mega hits like the Joker and the Batman, that you're not sitting there going, we got to link these fuckers together. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. 100%. I absolutely agree. I don't think they're necessarily going to do that. And I don't necessarily think that was the intention from the beginning. But right, exactly. But I think they want to leave themselves I think they want to leave themselves some wiggle room, because one of the reasons why the DCEU has, for all intents and purposes, failed miserably is because they put the cart before the horse. I believe, and some people, disagree with me, but I believe that there was a certain order for which you could have released, and it's not just about the order, okay? But there's a certain order for which you should have released those movies, a certain build. Like, now that it's 2019, we really should be getting to Justice League now. in 2020, 2021 is really when we should have been getting to Justice League. So we have all that build up, that emotional attachment that we can have to these characters. One of the reasons why Marvel is so successful, and Endgame is currently the second biggest movie in motion picture history in terms of box office receipts, is because people flocked out to see it because it was the emotional attachment you had to the characters in the series and how it was built. You built a strong foundation. It was like watching a series finale to Cheers or to Frasier or to some big TV show, whatever it is, to Breaking Bad or Game of Thrones, right? You become emotionally attached to everything. Nobody's emotionally attached to the DCEU. They're just cool, fun comic book movies. That's it. So, they fucked up. And I think they've got Joker coming out, and they're sort of somehow, I've got this feeling that they're somehow sort of inconspicuously maybe doing something else over here. And I think if it wasn't for Wonder Woman, if it wasn't for the success of Wonder Woman, and if it wasn't for the potential success of Wonder Woman 1984, I think they would have abandoned the DCEU. I do. Because Batman's not keeping it together. Superman's not keeping it together. There's no Flash movie. There's no Cyborg film. And Aquaman, okay, he had a $1 billion film. But other than that, your staples are nowhere to be found. So I think the only reason why there is a Wonder Woman film is because they kind of feel bad, and it's like, well, it was so successful, we need to keep her going. But I get worried that she and the rest of the DCEU are going to be like lame ducks. It's like they don't have anything, because I'm worried that if Joker's really good and the Batman's really good, yeah, they're going to want to kind of, it's so tempting to go over here and, kind of have that, do you know what I mean, Tony? Like, just kind of have that.
Yes, in fact, oh God.
And I'm not saying that it is, but I have no doubt in my mind that they have said, okay, yeah, it's a standalone film. Joker is a standalone film. But if they're both really successful, oh man, and not everything needs to be connected, but you can't tell me that it wouldn't be hard not to do it.
No, I agree. In fact, L. Johnson said the proper terminology here, because again, this is not my thing. So I'm like, I could be paraphrasing. I am paraphrasing what was said to me in doing my research so that I understood what was going on here. It's called the Elseworld. So like in DC, these alternate universes. My brother explained it here. Like apparently not too long ago, there was a thing on TV with the Flash and Arrow, which I'm familiar with these characters, and Supergirl, where they actually did something, and he showed it to me on YouTube. He showed me the clip, and I thought it was really cool that they did this. They had this real quick clip of where they went into Smallville. They went back, like they created this like really cool like time. I don't even know how to describe it. I'm gonna fuck it up, but whatever, because I'm not a comic book guy. But it was really cool to see this in Arrow and Flash in this crossover show. And then they go into this like loop thing, and next thing you know, they're in Smallville, but it's not the actual it's not Tom Welling and Erica Durant. It's like other actors playing Clark Kent and Superman. So like when they're explaining it to me, I'm like, oh, okay, so now this makes sense. So what they could be doing with this whole Elseworld thing, or if that's the proper term to be calling it, is they could be kind of looking at it like this could be our reset button that we've been looking for, because of what you just said. The only thing that's anchoring the DCEU right now is Wonder Woman. And I don't think that, honestly, no offense to anyone who's, a fan of Gal Gadot and Wonder Woman, I don't think that that's enough to hold that timeline intact. I truly believe, even if they don't connect the Batman and Joker together, even if they don't do that, if both films are successful, gut feeling is they're probably going to go, we need to take this route with Superman. We need to take this route with Flash. We need to start doing this kind of stuff, because we found our stride. And I think that's the problem that Warner Brothers has been having with these films, is they're not finding their stride. Like you just said with regards to the MCU. The MCU, Kevin Feige, yeah, that's right. Kevin Feige is the guy, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Like I sometimes I forget, like, is he in charge of Star Wars or is he in charge of the MCU? Because I can't keep up with that shit. But anyways, Feige had it right. He did it like a TV series. You had a beginning and an end, and you had everything in the middle, and it's one continuing story that's told over a 10-year, 10 years in the sense of cinematic time, but it's told like over 60 years?
I have no idea.
From Captain, someone help me out with that in the MCU. Is it 60-year time frame from Captain America to Endgame? I don't know, like the time gap there.
Yeah, I guess. No, because wasn't Captain America in the First World War? So that would be like almost 100.
I think he's in the second year.
I thought it was first. If it's the First World War, that'd be like 100 years.
Whatever, 60 to 100 years. It's in that time frame. But that was Feige's, that's how he mapped this all out. The problem, and I've said this all along with, I don't even need to be a comic book guy to know this. You just know it as a filmmaker, is you clearly see that they were doing everything they could do, the DCEU, to catch up to what MCU was doing. And, that was their biggest mistake.
It was. And I understand it from a business perspective. I get it. You see your competition, so you want to do your own version of that. But the fact of the matter is that you want to do your own version. That's the trick. You want to do your own version of that. You don't want to copy them, it just had they taken their time, had they had, the DCEU and the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the MCU, it could have been something really special, like both of them. It could have been something really special. And unfortunately, I just think that they did it right with Man of Steel. I was lukewarm to that film. I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it.
Thank you. It was all right.
Yeah, and the next movie should have been Man of Steel 2. Then you should have done the Batman, and then you should have done Wonder Woman, and then you should have done maybe a second Batman movie, or then you bring us we shouldn't have had a Justice League till like next year or something like that, right? Because you want to build that emotional attachment up, like I said a few moments ago. And so I agree with you. Wonder Woman right now, although Aquaman is $1 billion film, Wonder Woman is essentially, like you said, Tony, the anchor of the DCEU right now. Not that that's Wonder Woman's Wonder Woman, but she's got no support system around her. She's got no support system around her.
Right, and listen to what you are saying and what we're both saying. Wonder Woman is the anchor in the cinematic world for movies for the DC. When you have two of the most iconic characters in comic book history, not your anchor.
But it's because they did, it's not just because of this, but there was no emotional build-up. You want fans invested on an emotional level to the characters. You want them to care about what's going on and what's happening and the drama and the stakes. And why are we seeing the third movie in the series has Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Doomsday? What the hell are you doing? It's Spider-Man 3 from Sam Raimi all over again.
That was the second film.
Third film.
What was the second film?
Oh, are you talking? Oh no, you have Man of Steel. You're right. You're right. It was the second film. You're absolutely right. My apologies. Yeah, exactly. What are you doing? Imagine if you had Iron Man in 2008, and then in the next movie in 2009 or 10, you had Iron Man, Thor, Hulk. I don't care about the Avengers. I don't care about the Justice League because I don't know who the fuck the Flash is. Right. I know who he is, but I'm just talking about it from, the literal sort of, I don't know who this guy, I need to see a build up. I need to see this. I need to see a, you know what I mean? Anyway, so we could go on and on about that, but so.
Well, no, you're right, because
it is a lame duck. And of course you got and now you have Suicide Squad, which was shot here in Toronto, by the way, but it failed miserably at the box office. And now you have, what's his face, doing Suicide Squad 2, but it's but it's not 2. It's just called The Suicide
Squad or
what
something.
What the fuck? Just stop. Yeah. Stop. Cut your losses and stop. And maybe look at this Batman and look at this Joker and go, maybe, not necessarily, but maybe, because I think they're trying to have their cake and eat it too. Well, we don't want to stop, we don't want to stop, the DCEU because we don't know what's going to happen with this. And it's like, oh, just cut your losses, man. I don't give a fuck about the DCEU. And it's not because I'm a Marvel fanboy. I just want to see good movies. Yep. Okay. And you could say, well, Dave, you're not a comic book guy. Yeah, but that doesn't mean I don't like watching comic book movies. When I say I'm not a comic book guy, it doesn't mean that I don't like comic book movies. It means that I'm not emotionally, it's like someone who's just not into, I don't know, hockey.
Or
right?
horror films.
Or horror films, right? It's not that you hate or you won't watch one or be scared, hey, that was a really good movie or whatever, but it's not your go-to. So the superhero genre, but I've seen Batman and Superman and Spider-Man, and I love them. I think they're great. So, and I can tell you that, being emotionally invested is something that nobody was in the DCEU. It was just sort of thrown upon us, and we were forced to, see, don't you like this? Don't you like this? See, what don't I like what? Nurture me, spoil me, nurture my feelings, bring me on a journey. Because if you don't, I don't give a fuck. And right now, I don't give a shit. I just tell, cut your losses and focus on something you got brewing over here, which might be special.
Yeah, no, I wanted to piggyback off of what you said with regards to BVS and how, they're introducing this whole thing into the second film of the DCEU, and you're already at Doomsday and the end result of Superman versus Doomsday. We all know what happens there. And it's like, wow, I haven't even had a chance to really embrace Henry Cavill as Superman, and we're already here with him going up against Doomsday, and you're offing him. Spoiler alert for those who don't know what happens. But my question to you is this. Why can't, because DC in the comic book world is known for this, and comic book fans, would catch on to it pretty quickly. Why can't you pick the best from the crop and say, you know what, should the Batman and Joker do very well, and that's the new timeline that they want to go with, why can't you pull Margot Robbie out from that and say, you know what, we're going to plop her into this world here and we're going to match her up with Joaquin Phoenix? Because she is a great Harley Quinn. Unfortunately, she's in a shitty fucking movie that's horribly written and horribly cut together. But as far as her performance as Harley Quinn, fucking loved it. No reason why you need to fuck her into this thing. Same thing with Aquaman, Wonder Woman. Why can't you just pick up Gal Gadot and say, you know what, we're going to drop you into this universe now? If this is how the DC universe is normally for comic book fans, I can't imagine why comic book fans would even get in an upward or say, you know what, yeah, they are hitting the reset button, but they're creating this new alternate timeline that just seems like it would be a natural step and that comic book fans shouldn't have a problem with.
Yeah, I can understand. I get your point. I get what you're saying. It's sort of like cherry picking the things you like about the Star Wars expanded universe and leaving everything else out. I guess my only concern would be is that I think that, not that it would literally confuse people, but it just feels sort of like, I don't know. It's a fucking shit show. It's what the DCEU is. It's a fucking shit show. Yeah. The chat room's going to love that. And I just feel like, just cut your losses. Like that's how and listen, it's easier said than done. These are multi-million-dollar movies. And Aquaman did prove to be a billion-dollar film. And it's entirely possible because Wonder Woman was hugely successful. It wasn't a billion-dollar movie, but because it was hugely successful, it's possible that the sequel, which is, I guess, somewhat anticipated, might be a billion-dollar movie. I don't know. So I get it. It's difficult to sort of, cut that tie because there is good within the dog shit. But whether you have, like I used to tell people, whether I'm being served a shit pizza or a pizza that just has sprinkles of shit on it, it's still shit. Right. Whether it's a little bit of shit or a whole bunch of shit, it's still poo, man. It's still poo. And it doesn't, like, what, I'm supposed to feel better because, it's just a little bit of poo on my pizza? Oh, well, okay, thanks. I appreciate that. So now I just have a little bit of poo. No, it's still poo. It's still feces, right? So I kind of look at it, the DCEU, and I think, you guys fucked up. You fucked up because you were trying to play catch up. And, and I look at what's going on with Pattinson, and I look at what's going on with, with Joaquin Phoenix as the Joker, which, by the way, I just watched the trailer again last night while I was watching Godzilla, King of the Monsters at the IMAX here in Toronto. And I turned to my girlfriend. I said, this. It doesn't mean the movie's going to be good, but I said it looks interesting. He's a great actor, and people often forget that this is River Phoenix's brother, right? Yeah. So I mean, he comes from a very talented family. And he's a little sort of eccentric and a little weird, sure. But a lot of great actors can be an R. And so I just think that when I look at the DCEU, I understand that it's easier said than done to just abandon it. I mean, I get that. And maybe there's a way that you can sort of slowly kind of, when nobody's looking, like you're at the party and your time's up, you kind of just, slip out the back door when nobody's sort of paying attention. It's probably it'll probably fizzle out rather than just come to an abrupt end. Or like you said, maybe they will, but if you do that, I just have this feeling it kind of becomes a little, in order to abandon the shit of the DCEU, salvage the good of the DCEU in a potentially new DCEU, for all intents and purposes, with Pattinson and Phoenix, and we're not saying that is going to happen. That's gotta be gold. Like you can't just take anything over. The transition of that would have to be brilliant and almost seamless and make sense and go, yes. Because then people are going to go, but how is Harley Quinn in this movie with this Joker, with this younger Batman, when she was in the Suicide Squad at the same age with an older Batman?
I think fans are very forgiving for that, and I'll tell you why. Because even to this day, you go onto any of the YouTube clips with Jesse Eisenberg playing Lex Luthor, and I go into the comment section, and all I see is Michael Rosenbaum should have been casted to play Lex Luthor. And it doesn't matter the fact that Michael Rosenbaum played in Smallville, and he played opposite to Tom Welling for 7 seasons. I think people would just, they know what they're going to get out of Michael Rosenbaum playing Lex Luthor. To me, honestly, love Hackman. Hackman is, great. But honestly, I think Rosenbaum is the best Lex Luthor we have ever seen depicted on a screen, whether it's, TV screen or movie screen. He really just embraced that character of Lex and played it well. And if you were to put him in, even in this new DCEU universe, I think fans would fucking have a fangasm because they know the type of homework that Rosenbaum did to get ready to play that character and the type of commitment he gives to that character. People would be forgiven, just like I think people would be forgiven if Margot Robbie and Gal Gadot say we're picked out of this and say, we're going to drop you into this new thing, and this is the direction we're going. We want you to be part of it. I think fans, and I think fans would be very forgiving, and I think fans would understand, especially because we're saying this now based upon that the Batman and Joker are like colossal hits, and everyone loves them. And maybe too, and I'm just kind of thinking here off the top of my head is kind of a spur of the moment thing. In the pre-screenings, when they show the Batman, maybe they do shoot a scene with Joaquin and Pattinson and hold it in the bank. They don't show it during the screenings, but just to see the type of reaction that they're getting from people and the feedback and whatnot, that they might go and say, let's drop this in the post-credit scene, when we release it, theatrically nationwide, so that we are going to connect these movies together. I think that they're going to leave that option there for them, even though, yes, publicly they said that it's not connected, just like publicly they said that Nick Holtz and Pattinson were up for this role, which we all fucking know Pattinson pretty much probably has had this for the last few months, but they were basically covering their asses from the PR mess that I don't know if they intentionally or not intentionally created for themselves. Who the fuck knows? But I don't think the other actor was ever really up for it. I think it's always been Pattinson from the get-go. So whether or not that it's true or not true that the Batman and Joker are connected. I don't trust anything the studio says. And I think like what we said here a few moments ago, for those who are just tuning in and watching me and Dave here, I think that they're going to keep that as like a back burner thing for like a just in case. If this goes as well as they're hoping, they're going to somehow maybe connect these two, you know, in the end.
Yeah, I agree. And I think I get what you're saying. And look, the bottom line here is that winning solves everything. Whether it's sports, whether it's entertainment, whether it's movies, winning solves everything. And if you make a great movie with a great story, then people don't give a shit. I mean, listen, because it's I don't know if I was in charge, if I would carry anything over from the DCEU. That's a personal thing. I just might want to sort of leave that behind. Leave it. People who love it, maybe there's just this little thing on a shelf. There's a bunch of movies. Okay, great. But I think I don't necessarily know if I would bring Margot Robbie over. Now, what's his face as Lex Luthor? Well, that's different because he's a completely different actor. He wasn't in the DCEU. So now I understand that he was in Smallville, right? So I get that, and there's potentially a connection there. And then you have to factor in is now Smallville connected to this new thing, and because people are going to no doubt, ask about it. And I just, if it were me, I would cast right, and I would get it comes down to casting right and getting the right writers and story displayed on the screen. And I thought Jesse Eisenberg was an atrocious choice. And I don't understand the mentality behind that. It was incompetence to me. I didn't see, look, he's a fine actor. He's a fine actor, but he's certainly not Lex Luthor. And well, hang on. I just think there was just too much going on. For me, there's just too much baggage with the DCEU that hypothetically, if the Batman is great, and it's also important to note that Robert Pattinson has apparently signed a 3-picture deal. Now, for those of you that don't know what that means, that doesn't mean that they're necessarily making 3 movies. What that means is that if Warner Brothers decides to make 3 movies, Robert Pattinson is contractually obligated to play Batman 3 times. Now, if he wanted to raise a stink about it, I'm sure he could probably, but I would probably cost him more than he's being paid to be the Batman. So he's contractually obligated, pending any sort of death or impairment, to play Batman at least 3 times if Warner Brothers chooses to have him play him 3 times. So they're banking on that they might be able to get a trilogy out of this. And if it's successful, and if the Joker is very good, and if they do see an in somewhere, not that they're planning that, they're not planning it, they're not consciously building it that way necessarily, but they're leaving some wiggle room. It's like building a house and you're leaving sort of room somewhere in the wall for potentially a fireplace that might go there at some point, but you don't need it if you don't want it, and you can always kind of put something else there and nobody's any the wiser that you had something there. That's kind of how I think they're doing it. But if they see something and people are like, we want a fireplace, and everything's so hot, oh, I'd love a fireplace, they can just go, and it's like, whoa, didn't see that coming, and all of a sudden they're kind of. I just think, in my opinion, I get what you're saying, Tony, and it's not that you're wrong. My feeling is just sort of like, I would just kind of. It's the baggage. It's just the bad taste in my mouth. But I don't disagree that there were good things about the DCEU, many of which you mentioned here.
Question on why they chose Eisenberg and a younger Lex Luthor in BVS is because this was what was told to me by my brother and the comic book guys at the comic shop. This only diehard fans, I guess, apparently really know this. There is a very small series that I guess came out in the 90s where Lex Luthor was a bit younger. It was a younger Lex Luthor. It didn't last very long, and that's where I almost said Christopher Nolan. Oh my God, what's his name? Snyder. That's where Snyder came up with the idea of getting this Lex Luthor and using a younger version of Lex Luthor in his BVS. And like I said, only diehard comic book fans are even going to know what I'm even referencing right now, because I don't even know what the hell I'm referencing, because I'm just basically repeating what was said to me.
Interesting. Okay,
Yeah.
well, I did not know that, and I don't give a fuck. It was a shit choice.
That is for sure. Because
it was.
That's bad decision making.
It was. But there was.
We don't know this shit.
No, but there was too much in the movie. They were It was clear they were rushing to get to just have. First of all, there should not have been a Batman v Superman as your second movie in a cinematic DCEU. But if you were going to do it, which they did, just have it as Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice. Okay, great. Just have it as Batman. Just have it Batman. Batman and Superman should be more. You have two. No offense to Marvel fanboys, but the DC has arguably the two greatest superheroes in history, Superman and Batman. They are the quintessential representation of the superhero, especially your Superman, right? He's almost, well, I could get into the symbolism of God and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, so, it's those are the two, but and you have them both going at it in a live action cinematic spectacle for the first time in motion picture history. Get Wonder Woman the fuck out of there. Get Doomsday the fuck out of there. Get Luthor the fuck out of there. You might be able to reference him maybe, or whatever it is, but you bring Luthor in a Man of Steel 2. That's what you do. You don't have him in Batman v Superman. That should have been more than enough to carry a 2.5 hour film. And so anyway, there's a whole other, I don't know where the fuck I was going with that, but I am excited. I am excited for Robert Pattinson as Batman, because he's a talented actor, and I'm not one of those ill-informed people who like to get online and just say and listen, if you are informed and you have seen his other films and you just don't like the guy, you just don't like him, well, that's fair. But then when you are making your criticisms, then bring more of an argument than just Twilight. Because if all you're going to write is Twilight, like I said earlier in the stream, it doesn't tell me that you know what you're talking about. It just tells me that you've only seen Twilight, or you only know him as Edward, and you're just basing it on that. And I just think that, do yourself the due diligence, do yourself a favor, and watch him in some of his other roles and kind of go, okay, he might need to bulk up just a little bit. But you know what? Kind of do this and kind of that's some good. Okay. Maybe, and you might actually come around and go, huh. Okay.
Well, especially
because if anybody just said Heath Ledger, the Brokeback Mountain guy, if that's all they base it on, but look what happened.
Well, right, because, when you look at the Joker trailer, you get a A24 feel, right? I mean, that's what I get when I watch it. I get this kind of indie, gritty type of, Joker movie that we're going to get. Not a polished, overdone CGI bullshit that we've, gotten from the, first few DC movies here in the
right.
Basically Aquaman / Avatar movie, which pretty much it just, that's what, when watching Aquaman, I felt like at moments I'm like, oh, fuck, am I watching Avatar again? Right. Because there's just some remnants of those two films. This Joker film has that realism to it, and that's what I'm really drawn to. I'm hoping they take the same approach here with the Batman. I'm hoping they keep it into that like A24, gritty, realistic style of, filmmaking versus to, all right, we're going to do over the top CGI and, it's going to look, ridiculously fake because, say what you want, man. Tim Burton's 89 Batman. Yes, you can see where, it's clearly some, handmade props, but it still looks very realistic, and I'll take the 89 Batman over anything in the recent years that they've done in the DCEU, as far as filmmaking.
Right. Well, I mean, the 89 Batman was the quintessential sort of it was very comic booky.
Practical effects. That's what I was trying to
But it was it had a comic book feel to it.
Yes.
It was almost not quite as colorful, but almost like watching Warren Beatty's Dick Tracy, right? You know what I mean? It's very much right out of the comic book. You get to Nolan's Batman, and it's very grounded in the real world. And that was a nice contrast. I'm a big fan of those films. I think I've said this on a stream before, maybe a video before, but I think I know everybody raves about The Dark Knight. When I watched those movies back to back to back, I actually found myself liking Batman Begins more than The Dark Knight. I'm not saying The Dark Knight is not a better movie or a better made movie. I just found when I watched them in order, I actually I really liked Batman Begins a lot. But that being said, good movies. You know, it was a different take. It was more of a grounded in reality, and they were very successful, not just because they were well-made films, but that contrast. It was interesting to see that sort of different take of Batman. It felt a little more tangible, a little more realistic. And when you look at the Joker film, you're right. It's got a very gritty sort of vibe to it. And then you look at the Batman, which everything we've been hearing sounds like it's going to be sort of I'm not saying it's going to be Nolan-esque. I'm just saying everything we've been hearing has been that we're kind of going detective, mystery, darker, sort of grounded, thriller, or something like something along those lines. Not the polar opposite of like big comic booky type of thing. Right. It's maybe not quite Nolan, but it might be sort of in between. So then you look at the Joker you look at Joker and the Batman, you go, well, it's possible these two universes might be able to mix. Yep. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I'm excited. I tell you what,
I feel bad for the person who's going to have to cut that first teaser trailer, because a lot is going to be riding on that for how you're presenting it to everybody. A lot of people are going to be judging everything on that first teaser trailer whenever it's released in, I'm assuming 2020, late 2020, I'm going to guess. When does it come out in 2021? Is it mid-year or is it the end of the year?
I think it's July.
So it is mid-year. So it's summer.
Something like that? Yeah, I think so.
So it is summer.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think it's important to remember, too, that, when that first teaser trailer drops for the Batman, it's got to be great.
It really does. It has no room for error.
No, and it doesn't have to be, it's just gotta be, it's gotta be, oh, this looks, you know what I mean? And really sort of, really milk it. Really just sort of, don't show a lot, but just show enough. Just tease us enough with Pattinson as Batman.
Yes, because the fans are going to jump all over it if it's bad.
Oh, 100%. And I will be very curious to see once Christopher Nolan's new film, Tenet, comes out next summer, which stars Robert Pattinson. Because remember, this is essentially, for all intents and purposes, Robert Pattinson's return to the mainstream. Right. Because he did the Twilight films, and then, like I said earlier, he went into obscurity and went under the radar and did a lot of really good, some not so good, but some, all right, independent films. And this is sort of his return to the mainstream. So all eyes will be on Nolan's film next year, not just because it's Christopher Nolan and maybe it'll be a really good movie, but also because, this stars our future Batman. This time next year, he's going to be Batman. So what is he like in this movie? Now again, he's not playing Batman in the movie, obviously, but you're going to be able to see him sort of in a different role outside. That's what you need to do. You need to educate yourself. Remove Edward from your conscience. Yep. Remove him from your conscious mind and get other visions of Robert Pattinson in your head, other roles of him in your head. And then you might be able to be like, oh, you know what? Maybe, a younger, 30-something Bruce Wayne. And I remember when Bale was cast as Batman, wasn't quite the backlash of Heath Ledger's The Joker or Keaton, but I remember when Bale was cast as Batman, there were a few people that were like, Christian Bale? The guy from American Psycho? Really? Like, really? Oh, okay. All right. Okay. Like, nobody, and then, of course, Ben Affleck. Everyone was like, Ben Affleck? What the fuck? Look what happened, right? So it doesn't mean that Pattinson's going to knock it out of the park. But I think that because we've been, when I say we, I mean the collective we, not necessarily me or you, or anybody in the chat, but because we have been burned multiple times before with this kind of thing, I think you should at least give him the benefit of the doubt, because you might get burned again.
Yeah, and for the love of God, please do not do another Batman origin story. We don't need it. Let's just get right into the nitty-gritty of it all. Where are we at? What's going on? I don't need... We know Batman's origins. We know how this all eventually becomes. We don't need to rehash all of that just because a new actor is portraying this role. So I really hope Matt Reeves takes that approach of like, you know what? I'm not going to retell what we already know.
Yeah, and you know what disappoints me is that if you didn't fuck up your films, if you didn't fuck up, you wouldn't have to tell the origin story all over again. I'm actually one, and I might be in the minority here. I don't think you necessarily need to take an entire movie to do it, but I'm okay with reestablishing Batman because it's a new universe. It's a new era. It's a new actor. We know it. We don't necessarily need to go through it, like watching grass grow. We don't need to take like 45 minutes.
Right.
But I'm okay with sort of a refresher. And I guess it's because it feels more legit to me. It feels more like, now we're set. Like this is the new, and we don't have the last origin we have is an actor who's not even in it's a completely different Batman. And I know we can sort of piece together in our own mind, but I've always been okay with the idea.
What about something that they did in the 2009 Friday the 13th, where the opening credits had the backstory of, you saw what was happening in Pamela Voorhees' head getting chopped off and all that shit. They got it all out of the way. What if they did that in the opening credits of the Batman, rather than, like you said, rather than spending 10, 15 minutes of doing like, okay, there's little Bruce Wayne and there's Martha and, Papa Kent, and they get shot in the alley or however they're gonna get off in this film.
Papa Kent.
Oh yeah, call the Papa Kent, Papa Wayne. Shit, wrong.
Papa Kent.
Yeah, whatever. I mixed up the two worlds.
Whatever.
That's
whatever.
DC for you. They just change over worlds and shit. But that's one for the blooper reel when we pull it up.
That's right.
Later this year.
I would be okay with that. I would be okay with having it maybe over the credits, extending it first 10 minutes of the movie. I'm okay with that. You don't need a complete origin like what Batman Begins was.
Right.
Which I understand why they were doing it. But certainly it just kind of helps me to reset a bit. But that's me. There are a lot of people out there that are just like, no, I don't need to know it. I already know it and just fucking go on. I just feel that it helps to start fresh. This is your new Batman and, whatever. But certainly if it all comes down to execution. It all comes down to how the story is told. And
the other key thing is, okay, let's just now go devil's advocate here and say, let's just say the Joker and the Batman are absolutely 100% not connected.
Right.
Now, who are you going to cast Pattinson up against? That's also very critical too. Who is he going to be acting opposite to? Because look, you're only as good as an actor as who you're playing off of. Look at The Revenant, for example. The reason why DiCaprio is so good is because he's opposite to Tom Hardy, who's a fucking phenomenal actor. Unfortunately, not everybody's a Daniel Day-Lewis, where Daniel Day-Lewis could literally star in his own movie by himself and it'll be a fucking Academy Award-winning performance. You know what I mean? Actors really are only as good as how they're feeding off of each other. And if you're opposing someone who's just, for example, you talk Pattinson, right? And then you got the, who's the kid who played the Wolf Boy in the Twilight movie, who's like, not a great actor at all.
Taylor Lautner or something.
Yeah, whatever. So this is who he's, playing opposite to. Of course he's going to not. A lot of that does play a huge factor. So when you look at the Batman, it's going to be very critical who you're going to cast as Alfred, who you're going to cast as his love interest. Who is going to be his love interest in this? Who is going to be the main villain? All that is going to play huge in the overall performance that you're going to get.
I agree. And it all comes down to sort of how they're, obviously you don't want to put the cart before the horse. So you want to, do one movie and see how it goes, even though he signed on for potentially 3, a trilogy. But at the same time, I don't want, I want there to be some nuance. I want there to be some nurturing. And although, not everything needs to be connected. I understand that, and that's something I agree with. I think standalone movies are great, but we're moving into an era now, mostly thanks to the MCU, where cinematic universes are very much like episodic television, and people get emotionally attached, whether it's a sitcom you used to watch as a kid in the 80s or the 90s, whether it was Cheers or The Cosby Show or whatever, right? Those were episodics. They it was the same. They would it's a story over. I mean, sitcoms were a bit different in the sense that you could have a different sort of thing happening in each episode, but the character arcs were over, seasons, right? And you became emotionally attached to them. And then of course you get into the 2000s and and you get shows like The Sopranos and Breaking Bad and The Walking Dead, Game of Thrones. And it's just, yes. And then you get all the online shows, right? Whether it's Gotham or whether it's Hannibal or Stranger Things or what, it becomes episodic, and we get attached to these sort of characters, and that's why they're so successful, because we live vicariously through them. A lot of them is built on nostalgia, and we can roll sort of through these shows, and the MCU built that sort of principle, that formula, into the major motion picture on screen, which is not something we're used to. It's not that we haven't seen trilogies and stories over time, but nothing over like the connective tissue of a cinematic universe where there's all the, like 22 films, right? And so it allows you to become really emotionally attached. And when you have the Batman, I agree that the villain needs to be really good, but I don't want these villains to be shoehorned in. Do you know what I mean? Like we nurture it. You don't have to have a big, like, that's what was so great about Batman Begins. Batman Begins, the villain in Batman Begins is a villain that by and large nobody gives a fuck about. It was Scarecrow, right? Played by Cillian Murphy. So then, he's not usually a villain that, when you think of Batman, you think of Penguin, Catwoman, the Joker, Mr. Freeze, maybe, the Riddler. Scarecrow tends to be down on, the list. But that was what Nolan utilized for Batman Begins, because it was primarily Batman's story, right? So whether you saw his rise or not, which you did, of course, but that was his story, and he was a good villain. And then of course you introduce his arch nemesis in the second film, and I just want these things to be nurtured. I don't want things to feel shoehorned, and I don't care by and large who the villain is, but I don't want you to bite off more than you can chew too quickly. I don't want you to shoehorn in the Joker right away, because kind of like, oh my god, you were going wrong, okay, oh, this is it. Build that suspense, make us earn it, right? Earn our emotions, earn our trust, earn us, that nuance and that journey, that cinematic journey that we can go on, whether it's over 22 films or 3 films, play on the nuance, play on the emotions, and just make a great story that we can be epically really excited about at the end of the day.
About like possibilities of, good villains to play opposite to Pattinson, and if they're going the true detective route, I'd almost kick it off with the Riddler, and really make it a crime detective, who done it, what's going on. Yet maybe we know it's the Riddler, and we Batman knows it's a Riddler, but you don't know what's going to happen next, and you're really tapping into Batman's detective, style of solving crimes and, whatever. And again, I don't know enough, so I'm kind of just pulling at straws right now because I don't read the comic books. But from what I said here a little while ago, he is the world's greatest detective. So if he's the world's greatest detective, then let's really tap into it. And what character can really give Batman, besides the Joker? We know the Joker is the at the top of the mountain there. Yeah. The Riddler would be a really good choice to really kick things off. If you write it well, it could be a good choice.
Yeah, I agree with that. And it's a character we have not seen since Jim Carrey's Batman Forever,
which I don't even.
Yeah, but I mean, but again, those were common. Whether it was Burton or Joel Schumacher, those were comic book movies. Those were comic booky movies. I mean, like very, eccentric, sensational, colorful, over the top, exaggerated, over performances, that was their design. You get to Nolan's Batman, things come a little more serious. I prefer the seriousness. Yes. I think, and I think by and large, because it's cooler, right? And we live in an era now as well. In 2019, the oversell of the comic booky becomes very sort of, even though adults read comic books and there are graphic novels that are more serious, and the comic books in their heyday were for kids, and kids would buy them and kids would read them, and those movies, even though adults like them, you watch them, they're for kids. The spectacle it's very child friendly. And I think we're in an era now where we realize that comic book movies, as long as they don't butcher the source material or they don't do anything, that a comic book fan would consider blasphemous, I think people are ready for something a little more mature, are ready for something a little more adult. And I'm talking about adult in sort of in execution and
yeah, because I was gonna say they should make the Riddler almost like an intelligent Hannibal Lecter minus the cannibalism. But really, like, I would make the Riddler that dark, like I would say, what, fucking go there with it. Why not? I mean, I know it might piss off the comic book world, but me as the horror guy would be like, yeah.
But you know what, though? At the end of the day, like I said, and I agree with you, but at the end of the day, winning solves, it doesn't solve everything, but it solves a lot of stuff. And you can have comic book fans that were like, oh, but if you make a great movie, I guarantee you, and I'm not saying there aren't any, but I guarantee you there are few hardcore comic book fans that don't like The Dark Knight.
That's true. Good point. That is true.
When you make great movies with great stories and great performances, with something that's like, wow, this is an interesting take. Okay, maybe I've never seen it done this way before, but they're honoring the source material. They're not disrespecting it necessarily, right? And it's just, okay, here's this, but this way. I'm telling you, you get people on board. It doesn't mean everybody's going to like it. There's always going to be some guy in the back going, oh, fuck you. Fuck, I want you fucking. You're always going to get that guy. But at the end of the day, you
do that guy so well.
Well, hey, last night when I was watching Godzilla, King of the Monsters, there's a guy in front of me who's on his phone. And now the movie hadn't begun yet. Okay, the movie hadn't begun yet. Still the pre-show. Then we get into the previews, and he's still on his phone, and I'm watching him, and I'm like, okay, it's fine. Okay, fine. Really, by the previews, your phone should be away, but I'm giving him some slack. So then the movie begins, and at first I was like, okay, is this like an introduction to something? But no, it's the movie. The Warner Brothers logo comes on the screen. You begin to hear, some music, and he's sitting there with his phone playing, I don't know what the fuck he's playing, some game. So I lean over, and like, if he's here like this, right? If he's here like this, my face is like right here. And I said to him, quote, "You're going to want to put that away." And he goes, and he puts it away. I specifically said, "You're going to want to put that away." Not can you put that away? You're going to, but what the fuck? People are dumb. The movie's beginning, and you're still on your phone. Why are you here? First of all, I didn't pay $40 for, myself, my girlfriend, and the IMAX, because, that's how expensive it is, the IMAX, right?
It is.
To watch you on your fucking phone. And what are you doing in the theater? Why are you in the fucking theater? Get the fuck out. Why are you in the theater? And so I was like, you're going to want to put that away.
No, what you just said is a big reason why, when people ask me, how come you don't go to movies? Because of that, the movie-going audience today is so disrespectful, has no courtesy, kids on their phone, talking and all this stuff like they're in their fucking living room. Why am I going to spend, like you said, $40 to $80, depending on what you spend at the concession stand? Or like, for example, we have these theaters here in the States. It's the Movie Tavern. So you go, they show new releases, but you go and order dinner, and you got this huge, nice, and you can sit back in this, real nice chair and get not like a bullshit meal, like a real nice, meal.
Yeah, we have something up here called VIP.
Okay.
And you sit, it's not like you sit in your theater, you got a big like lazy boy chair. You can order alcohol, you can order food, and it's like a similar kind of thing. And the prices are a bit more for a general admission. But yeah, anyway, that was a side note.
But it's true, because why would I want to spend that kind of money just to sit there and have the bozo next to me? I had that problem with Halloween last year. I had here's a film I've been looking forward to, and it's being ruined by a fucking jackass next to me on his fucking phone. And it really pissed me off to the point where I bitched so much to the AMC theater. I said, this is absolutely fucking ridiculous, and they gave me a free ticket to go see the next showing, and I went.
Oh, good for them. Good, good for fucking them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I gotta say, it's I'm excited.
By the way, not to change the topic, but how was Godzilla? Don't give me any spoilers because I haven't seen it. Is it worth going to check it out like at a 10 a.m. showing when there's no one there?
Okay, well, I am going to do a video maybe tomorrow or Thursday. I know I'm a little late on this. As you know, I don't do official reviews on my channel.
I know.
But I also, I always say that if a movie strikes me a certain way, or if there's something about how it's affecting the pop culture, whatever it is, that I want to sort of give my 2 cents on, I'll do a video about it, and that's what I'm going to do. One of the biggest criticisms that Godzilla has gotten from critics and fans is that the characters are, once again, one-dimensional. The plot is pretty predictable, and there's not a lot there to grasp onto. But that the spectacle of Godzilla is off the charts, fucking amazing. And I will say that both of those things, for the most part, are correct. But I will say that the 1.5 dimensional character development, although that it bothered the hell out of me in Gareth Edwards' Godzilla from 2014, it did not bother me one iota in this movie. And there's reasons why, which I'm going to talk about in a video. And I will say that, my 1985 6-year-old, was I 6 in 1985? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. My 1985 6-year-old self.
6.
Yes, I loved it. I thought it's exactly what I expected, and I thought it was great. And I will talk on a video about it, which will have some spoilers, I guess. But I'll do it either tomorrow or Thursday, whenever I have some time. So I enjoyed it.
Cool.
Yep. So do you want to move over to the chat room a little bit early and take some questions?
Let's jump over to the chat and get it early. I think we both pretty much kind of concluded here. Just to wrap up quickly, I think we're both on board with Pattinson as the Batman, looking forward to seeing the possibilities of what could come from all of this.
Yes, I agree. I think it's important, if you are somebody who just has Edward from Twilight in your head, which is understandable, totally cool, but I recommend you do yourself a favor and at least watch him in a few other things like Good Time.
Definitely Good Time. I mean, like, if you don't want to watch any of his other shit, just watch that one flick and you'll be like, all right, dude's got chops.
Yeah. And again, it doesn't mean you're going to like the movie, but look at his performance and look at the versatility that he brings to the role. Yeah. He's very committed, and allow yourself to see him other than Edward. Right? You know what I mean? And it's very important that you do that. So I'm excited. It doesn't mean he's going to be the guy, but I think there's a higher probability that he's going to be great than people realize. So I'm excited about that. Cool. So anyway, let's go to this is now your opportunity to, for anybody who is thinking about sending in a super chat, this is the opportunity now where you can do that so we don't miss it. You can do that now. I think there was a super chat we missed a while back.
Early.
Here we are. Aaron Keller, $2 super chat. Thank you, Aaron. I think. Aaron Keller. Yeah, he's in my neck of the woods. What do you two think of Nicholas Holtz as Riddler? I don't know.
Yeah, because I don't even know how I feel about Nicholas Holtz as Beast. Right, he's Beast in the X-Men thing. Right, in the X-Men world.
I think so.
I think he is Beast. Yeah, he is. I mean, yes. I I can picture what you guys are thinking, right? You get him in the green getup and get the glasses on him and, hat. And yes, I can see that, and I can see why people would automatically assume to go. But I don't think you necessarily have to go the traditional route. Like I was saying earlier, minus the cannibalism, you still have an intelligent guy, but I would almost take the dark approach of like Hannibal Lecter with Riddler and like some dude who's really off his fucking rocks, you know what I mean? But intelligent at the same time, but not the campy Jim Carrey shit.
Right. Yeah, I'm not too familiar with him as an actor, so I can't say.
That's the only thing I know him in is X-Men. That's it.
Yeah, I can't say yay or nay. I would love to give you but I want to be honest. So my apologies. I'm not entirely sure whether he'd be good or not. Cool. Super chat came in from somebody. The message was retracted. Maybe it was a message saying "fuck you guys, you fucking piece of shit. Fuck you, man." Anyway, thank you for the super chat nonetheless.
Ethan Rowe, been listening to you guys while working. I always look forward to y'all's show. Favorite modern horror movie?
Okay, now modern, because Tony and I
current.
Current, because Tony and I are 40, so modern could be anywhere from
last 10 years. We'll say since 2010.
Last 10 years. Okay, so current. Okay, current.
Favorite, Conjuring, The Conjuring, definitely.
I'd probably say The Conjuring and/or Insidious.
Yeah. Conjuring for sure. Like I am fucking amped for Annabelle 3. Like for me to even be saying that like shocks me. But because Vera and Patrick are reprising their roles as Ed and Lorraine, that is the only fucking reason why I am like my cylinders are on like fucking steroids right now for that film. I can't wait for it to get here. And I'm looking forward to Chucky as well too. But yeah, Conjuring for sure.
Cool. All right. Super chat from
had a few of these suckers come in.
Russell Drickard. Thank you for the super chat, Russell. Thoughts on the new It versus the old It? Well, here are my thoughts. Obviously, I watched the 1990 miniseries actually just a couple of weeks ago for the first time in years. And it's definitely dated. It's nearly 30 years old. And certainly in terms of its scariness and, it's dated. But these things are relative. And in 1990, the production value was top notch. And in 1990, that movie was, I'm not going to say it was bone-chillingly scary, but it was creepy. And the idea of it was creepy. And Tim Curry as Pennywise was creepy. And was it as dark as the book? No, there were some criticisms of it then as well. I actually don't mind the second half of the movie. A lot of people tend to like the first half with the kids over the second half with the adults. I actually didn't mind the second half as much as I remember when I was a bit younger. But certainly when you compare it to the 2017 film, it's like comparing apples and oranges. I mean, it really is. The 2017 film is very dark, very polished, very... I have...
CGI.
Yes, very CGI'd. I have my criticisms of the 2017 It. I thought it was fine. But I would have liked to have seen less CGI and have them go even darker. I think there was opportunities that Pennywise could have been utilized a bit more, and they didn't. And I'm not saying it's a bad movie. I'm just saying that there's a couple things that I would have liked to have seen them go a bit darker. This next movie, It Chapter 2, apparently is darker, so we'll see. But it's hard to compare the two. I mean, there's some nostalgia that sticks with you when you think of the 1991 as well.
Yeah, and I'm going to keep my answer simple. I pretty much invested into my It costume that's going to be modeled after Tim Curry's It. So that should answer that question.
There you go.
The costume for my photos on Instagram. That's what I'm
awesome.
referring to.
John Burke says, which superhero movie had the best cinematography? Oh, my God. How many superhero movies are there? Like 90? I have no idea.
Actually, you know what? I will say this. For its time, you got to remember, for its time.
That's right. Things are relative.
The very first Superman, 77, I mean, you really thought Christopher Reeves was flying. I mean, really. And when you watch that to this day, yes, we all know he's on a wire and back, but how believable, just even his simple motions of just doing, it still holds up 40 years later.
Wasn't the subtitle something like, You'll Believe a Man Can Fly?
Yeah,
something like that.
Something like that, and like to me, like when you go back to that original one that really started all of this, it still holds up. I mean, it's just beautifully done. And like I said, you really think he's flying.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the other films, 2 was okay. But
two was good. 3 and 4 not so much.
When you get to the flying scenes in 3 and 4, you're like, yeah, you guys better have quit while you were ahead.
It's hard to say which cinematography is the best or which superhero movie is the best cinematography. It's such a loaded question. I mean, that's like me saying, what action movie has the best music? You know, it's like, oh, geez, I don't know. I mean, like, what do you mean? Like score? Do you mean soundtrack? Do you mean song? Do you mean, from what era? It's just hard to say. I get your question, but it's hard to say. Yeah. I don't know. Okay, super chat from Russell. Frank Riker, super chat. Thank you, Frank. Are you guys interested in Swamp Thing? I gotta say, I'm not overly interested in it, but maybe it'll pique my interest when I see more.
That's Netflix, right?
I think so. Yes.
Yeah. It just hasn't. I mean, not that I like Dave. It's like Dave. I'm not going to watch it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not rushing to watch it. Maybe it might be something I might drop in and watch. Then a month from now or whatever.
Yeah. Exactly.
Well, actually, no. I'll be watching Stranger Things season 3 in a month from now.
Right. Yes. Oh, that's right. Yeah, a month. Stranger Things 3 is coming. Super chat Oliver Mercer. Thank you, Oliver, from across the pond. Hey, Dave and Tony, have you heard that Indiana Jones will start filming next week? Who would you like to play Two-Face in the Batman? Well, first of all, to your first question, I have no idea why Harrison Ford said that Indiana Jones 5 is shooting next week. Indiana Jones 5 is not shooting next week. Harrison Ford was either drunk or just he was just having fun. He was
drunk. He was drunk.
No, but here's what happened. Here's what probably happened, okay? I know Harrison Ford gets made fun of a lot in terms of his I get it. But if you go back to when Harrison Ford wasn't sounding like that, when he was our age, okay, 40, he always had a very dry sense of humor. When you watch him on late shows back in the early 80s he always had a very dry sense of humor. So you now take that dry sense of humor and you put it inside a 75-year-old man who kind of sounds like this. When he says something with a straight face, somebody who is going to take it, and because we live in a world where anything, we got to get anything, I think somebody just took it a little too seriously. I believe the comments came either when he was on the red carpet doing some press for The Secret Life of Pets 2 or something like that.
Something like that.
And I think he wasn't serious.
I think he was fucking with people.
He was fucking with people. And somebody took it and then somebody ran with, oh, what a shock! Somebody ran with it without doing their due diligence.
Yeah.
And then of course it had
and reported the fake news.
That's right. It's fake news. It's fake. It's good. Okay. It's fake. Okay. I just love
you do it better than I do. I can't do voices. That's
shut
you,
up,
man.
That's because I'm great. I'm amazing. It's fantastic. Shut the fuck up. Anyway, no, but he had this thing where it was like I think he obviously was joking around. The script is not done. The production is set to start shooting next summer. So not this summer 2020. So okay. That's not true. That is false. That is fake news. Who would you like to play Two-Face in the Batman? Two-Face? I don't know. Two-Face? I don't know. Two-Face. Somebody who's just a good actor. I don't know. Tony?
Same. Again, any good movies come down to a movie is not going to be unless you're Daniel Day-Lewis. Not one actor can really carry a film. You need that team. You need that camaraderie of your actors playing off of each other. So, who could I think of as a good Two-Face, Harvey Dent character to play opposite to Pattinson in the movie? Who played? Oh, Aaron Eckhart played him in the Nolan one, right? Yeah, yes. He was good. I liked him. Yeah,
he was good. He was good. Yeah.
And Billy D played him in Tim Burton's, right? He played Harvey Dent.
Yes, I think he did.
Which is not, he didn't get to the Two-Face part because that ended up
becoming... I forgot about that.
That became Tommy Lee Jones later on. Yes. As the franchise carried on to the shitty versions or the shitty movies. But yeah, Billy D is the one that I refer to in Burton's first two films. He played Harvey Dent. But right now, fuck, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either.
I really do. I mean, okay, no, honestly, I mean, I hate to say either. I would either think of maybe possibly Matt Damon or DiCaprio as a
Okay.
possibility of, because like you're thinking of Harvey Dent, Two-Face, right? That's my mind, the way I'm thinking of Harvey Dent, the prosecutor, you know, whatnot.
Yeah.
I could see DiCaprio or Matt Damon, you know, playing the part.
Yeah, might be a little too old, but yeah.
Well, DiCaprio, no. DiCaprio's only in his early 40s.
Right. But yeah, that's true. Damon, well,
Yeah.
Damon's not that much older. I think he's in his early 50s.
No.
Let's see here. L. Johnson. Jim Carrey wasn't an accurate depiction of the Riddler. Riddler's supposed to be precise and intelligent. He's not out of his mind character like the Joker is. Right, well, that was what we said earlier about how those movies were very comic booky, cartoony. Right? Super chat from David Quintanalia. Thank you, David. I'll go see Pattinson, but for me, the 4 Arkham games are best due to stellar voice acting, especially Hamill, and overall presentation of Gotham. Never played the game, but I'll take your word for it. TH3R3D Hood says,
I know this.
Thank you for the super chat. Live action Red Hood Batman movie. Would you want it? I have no idea what you're talking about, so I will hand it over to Tony Michael, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, I'm shocked I actually know this question, and I'm not a comic book guy, only because I know Jensen Ackles, right? I don't know if I said that right. The dude who plays in Supernatural. I think he plays Nightwing in that, if I'm not mistaken. In the animation movie one that I watched. My brother had recommended it to me. He's like, dude, I think you might like this. Just watch it. All right, fine. And usually when my brother recommends something, he's usually right. And he was. I enjoyed that version of what the animated cartoon show or movie, whatever, that I watched. And the Red Hood, I wouldn't mind seeing that storyline brought into this new Pattinson Batman universe. So yes, I'm on board with that.
Cool. I'm not familiar with it, but I will.
Thank you. The No Wonder fan says he played Jason Todd / Red Hood. Jason Todd, which was he was Robin who dies. You remember, like, there was a comic book in the 80s where Robin dies. That's the Jason Todd, the young Robin, and there's that iconic shot of Batman holding Robin in his arms. I think the comic book is called Death of a Family or something like that. Someone correct me if I'm wrong on it. But this is Jason Todd, older, come back to, you know, fuck with Batman because he blames Batman for what happened at the Joker, but for not killing the Joker, basically, not doing, you know, what he wanted to do. So yes, the Red Hood in this, I would totally be on fucking board with that, only because I know what the reference material is. So I think it would be cool.
Cool. Okay, cool. Let's see here. The Film Addict says, best superhero movie soundtrack. Ooh, you know what? It's hard for me to say because I haven't seen a boatload of superhero movies, but I will say this. I think arguably one of the greatest themes in movies is the Superman theme. John Williams.
I mean, it's hard to top that.
And I tell you, he has done, I mean, come on, Indiana Jones. And Star Wars. And Jaws, the Imperial March, you know, and like he's done so many. See, the thing about Williams is that it's not just the themes. It's not just the title themes. There's all the other themes that he does within his movies that are almost just as recognizable. We all know Leia's theme. We all know Marion's theme in Indiana Jones. We all know the Imperial March, right? You know, there's so many other themes that he does even within his movies. But I gotta say, as much as I love Star Wars and its music, and as much as its music is absolutely unequivocally, you can make an argument that it is the greatest cinematic soundtrack of all time. You can. There is something about that Superman theme that is so fucking epic. I used to run with it on my MP3 player, and I would run hills with it. And it was just like...
it gets you going. It gets you amped.
It's just, oh fuck, and then bum 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 bum, like it's just, oh my god, it gives me goosebumps. It's just so I don't know the answer to your question because I haven't watched an abundance of superhero films, but you can make an argument that that theme is the greatest, not only superhero theme, but, one of the greatest themes of all time.
Absolutely.
All right, let's see here. Tony, you pick one.
There was a super chat here. I want to make sure we grab that one. Russell Drinkard. I don't know. I can't pronounce your name.
Dricard.
Sorry, Dricard. Any thoughts on Brightburn? I have not seen it yet. It is on my to watch list. So I don't want to know anything.
Yes, same here. I was hoping to see it last week, and I unfortunately couldn't get around to seeing it, but I definitely want to see it soon. I am going to watch it because I have a few people who want to know my thoughts on it personally. Let's see here. Jim D, thanks for the super chat, Jim. It's been 3 years, and I still couldn't describe the plot of BVS to someone or Lex Luthor's plan. Describe the movie in one paragraph. Good luck. In one paragraph, Superman... Okay, it's a fucking shit show. That's what you know what? I got to say this. I got to be honest. Because I don't have an emotional attachment to many of the characters, when I watched Batman v Superman for the first time, now granted I watched it here at home, I actually didn't mind it. I didn't think it was a great movie. But when I watched it, I remember walking away from it thinking, I thought that was... Now, there were things in the movie that I thought were fucking shit shows. But I actually was like, I like the stakes. I like sort of the... two titans going up against each other. It's just kind of not titans the size of Godzilla, but that sort of kind of thing, right? I didn't mind it. There were certain things there was something there. There was something there. And unfortunately, it was just lost in all of the shit that was around it. But a big part of it is because I'm not emotionally attached. So that's why I'm not the best judge of a movie like that. It's like a Star Wars fan a non-Star Wars fan who's maybe seen a couple of movies giving you their thoughts on The Last Jedi. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like I'm not qualified.
Yeah. The only way I can describe BVS is it's a high production movie that looks like it's been edited by fifth graders using iMovie, which is a free software that Apple gives you for video editing. That's what it looks like.
There you go, folks. There you have it. All right, let's see here. More super chats have come in, but let's get to some non-super chats. It's Aaron Prito says, Dave, have you seen the Child's Play sneak peek for 2019? I am aware of it. I have not seen it yet.
Okay, good. I almost took my earphones out because I'm trying not to get spoiled and not know anything.
Yeah, no, I haven't seen it yet. Let's see here. The original Lee just puts 3 big happy faces. Mike Cornelia says, Alan Silvestri's superhero movie music is phenomenal. I agree. His soundtracks are great. I mean, come on, Back to the Future, Forrest Gump, amazing. Yep. James Gaxiola says, Dave and Tony, thoughts on the upcoming Toy Story 4? Well, I got to be honest with you. I haven't even
seen Toy Story 1. So
okay, well, I've seen the first one years ago because it came out when I was still in high school. In 1995, I was 16, and I actually did a project on computer animation, and I used Toy Story as the example because at that time, technology was changing. We just had Jurassic Park 2 years prior. Now you have Toy Story. It was the first movie of its kind. No one had ever seen an animated movie like that before. So anyway, so I liked it. Oh, I thought it was great. It's a classic. I think I've seen the second one. I have not seen the third one, but I am very aware of the love for the Toy Story trilogy. I'm very aware that these movies are by and large universally loved and accepted as great movies, and if not, a great trilogy.
Yep.
So I am worried, even though I haven't seen Toy Story 3, and I understand that it's a tearjerker, I am worried that by doing this Toy Story 4, I don't know too many people that are buzzing about it. Now, it's going to make bank at the box office because it's something you can bring your kids to, and it's Toy Story. It's got a brand attached to it, a proven property. But I'm worried that when I saw the trailer, I thought, well, it looks like what you would expect and kind of like what we've seen before. So I'm worried that they're going to destroy a perfect trilogy with this fourth movie. They may not. It may be another classic, and Pixar may knock it out of the park again. But I got to admit, I'm a little worried about that. But Tony, do you have any thoughts on that at all, or?
I haven't even seen Toy Story 1, and mainly because I'm not an anime. Like I said, for my brother to even suggest, because he said that to me, when he suggested the Red Hood movie, it's like, I know you don't like animated stuff, but you might like this and appreciate it. And he was right, I did. I don't do animation. It's not my thing. I joke about this all the time, but it's very true. When Dave was just talking here, when we were 6 years old, when I was 6 years old, my babysitter thought she would be clever and try to scare me out of the room. She shows me Nightmare on Elm Street. What the fuck happens? I'm glued to the TV like, this is the fucking greatest thing I've ever fucking saw. And I've been hooked on horror movies ever since. And literally, when everybody back in the day in the 80s is watching Saturday morning cartoons, I'm there with my grandfather watching Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street and eventually getting a Michael. I literally was raised on horror films. And I love that shit. So I never did I have some memories of watching cartoons, but not many. If it wasn't horror films, I was watching shit like Airwolf and the A-Team and Knight Rider and all that stuff in the 80s. I never really was drawn to animated films. In fact, the last animated film I saw in theaters was The Lion King. So
well, there you go. And that's what, 25 years ago.
Yeah.
So yeah. Okay. There you go. Super chat, Frank Riker. Thank you again, Frank. Tony, would you rather be the photographer of your favorite band on their tour, an album, or win a Pulitzer?
A
Pulitzer? Yeah, I know what he's talking about, but I always get that pronunciation a bit mixed up. A Pulitzer Prize. Yeah.
None of the above, and it's a great question. Basically, to sum it up, I love the content that I'm doing right now because I'm creating my own stuff within the obviously of characters who have already been created for us, but making it my own. Awards never did it for me. I'm not an awards guy. I never got into photography to win awards. I started doing it as a kid because I love it. It's a hobby of mine that I was fortunate enough to turn into a career. So that's to answer the awards part. The band Motley Crue, holy fuck. Yeah, I mean, it would be fun back in the 80s in their heyday, in the peak of the whole 80s thing. But, now it'd be like going around tour seeing 60-year-old women flashing Tommy Lee on stage. I don't want to take this picture. No, I'm good. But Motley Crue back in the day would have been fun to do. But what I'm doing now and what I'm collaborating with on people, creating these horror themed photo shoots, I love it, and that I wouldn't change it for the world. So, but good question, thank you, Frank.
Yeah, well, yeah, very, very, very good question. Let's see. There's a super chat there from PC Pierce. I just want to get one that's not a super chat. Adam Carl Green says, Man of Steel or Superman 2006? That was Superman Returns.
Superman Returns.
I'd have to.
I'm gonna go Man of Steel, hands down. Yeah.
Probably for me too. I thought the marketing for Superman Returns was really great, though. I love that they use the original theme and that kind of stuff, but I haven't seen that movie in so long. PC Pierce, thank you for the super chat, PC. What's a shoot to a successful movie you would have refused to take? What's a shoot to a successful movie you would have refused to take part in due to the bad conditions of the shoot? Mine's The Abyss. Oh, I see what you're saying.
Good question.
Well, I think well, I'm taking it so literally. Productions have insurance. They have insurance. They have safety. They have people that are trained, and there probably isn't too much, because if I'm really, it depends on how passionate I would probably. I think I know what you're talking about. I can tell you this, it would all come down to the script, because I certainly wouldn't get involved in a movie and get into the production process only then to go, oh, I don't want to do this. I mean, I've signed the contracts, I got a budget, there's a studio that's, depending on me, right? So I'm really, if it comes down to a script that I see, what's a movie that I would have looked at the story, be like, oh, that would be really complicated to shoot. Yeah, The Abyss is a good one, but it might have been kind of interesting because of the potential reward. It might have been kind of fun. And it's not like it's just me out there with a camera. I mean, you have a gigantic crew and, that are trained in the areas they're trained in and to be able to help bring it together. But definitely anything with water would be very difficult to do, especially back when Spielberg was doing Jaws. I mean, that was just a nightmare of a shoot. So anything with water, heavy water, would probably give me pause. Doesn't mean I wouldn't go ahead with it, because it depends on how passionate I am about the story. But water, I might be like, oh, how long is this going to take? How long, how wet am I going to get? What's going on? You know what I mean? It might give me pause. I don't know. Tony, what about you?
No, I think where you were going with initially there, I agree with you on, look, there's a lot of contract jobs that I get in as a photographer. I'm doing one here in a couple weeks for the home economics, America of Home Economics. It's all like home ec teachers. They teach baking, sewing, and all this stuff like that. It's a week-long event. I'm getting paid well, but to me, I always look at it like this. Every job that I do, I will always take something away from it that I've learned. So I think I would be the same approach for movie making. You're always going to learn something on that project, even if the project was a nightmare to shoot. I'm sure, like Dave just referenced Jaws, I'm sure there's a shit ton that Spielberg learned from walking away on that project. Like, okay, I'm not going to do that shit again.
That's a great point you just made, that sometimes doing those tough productions and having to sort of improvise and utilize the practical tools that you have at your disposal and work together as a team can only make you a better photographer, filmmaker, whatever the case is. I agree with that point 100%.
Yeah, because I know when I walk into this, event here and I work it for the week, it's going to be mostly older women who are talking about cooking, baking, sewing, and all this stuff like that. There's nothing that I can even personally connect to, with this, but
right.
You know what?
You mean you're not an avid sewer and knitter, Tony? I'm shocked.
But no. But I always look at it. I like jobs like that because I feel like it's a challenge to really push my skills as a photographer, and I like that. I don't always want to just do in the perfect world, we all would love to do the shit we love, but I find it when you're challenged and you put yourself in a challenging position, you really push your talents to a level. And I like that. I think you would agree too. I mean,
yeah, 100%.
There's jobs you've done, voiceover stuff. You're like, and then there's ones you're like, fuck yeah.
Absolutely. Yep. No, 100%. I agree with everything that you've just said. Let's see here. Davey Biomusic 402 says, Dave or Tony, have you ever played the Friday the 13th the game? If so, what did you think of it? Are you talking about the original NES game with Purple Jason?
The Nintendo one with Purple Jason. I have that game somewhere down
or
there.
The more recent one. I'll just say I played both, and I found the original Nintendo one when I was a kid frustrating as fuck.
Oh my god, yeah.
Frustrating as fuck. Really annoying.
It's like the Karate Kid Nintendo game from the 80s. But you know what? They have their charm. In a way, they do. Even with the square box pixelated, shit. And the guy's moving this way
but I never understood why Jason was purple.
I don't get that.
Is it because they needed him to stand out against the other
mask? I'm guessing the mask being the mask white, maybe the color tones,
I don't know. Really fucking weird. Super chat from Grave Warmer. Thank you, Grave. Not to be morbid, but what movie would you show to someone if you wanted to traumatize them?
The Exorcist. Honestly, The Exorcist.
Yeah. The Exorcist is a good one. I would say The Exorcist is good. Traumatize them. The very first Saw, or even the very first, not that's a great movie, but the very first Hostel too. Because we're talking about, we're talking about traumatize them. So the movie doesn't have to be good, but it's got to be, that's another one too. Yeah. The movie can be good, like a Clockwork Orange and The Exorcist, or the movie can just be, torture porn, and sometimes it's tough to watch.
Yeah, because you take that scene in A Clockwork Orange when they break into the older couple's house. that even me, that's a hard scene to watch. I mean, it's well acted by, McDowell and everybody in that scene, and Kubrick did a great job, really pushing the actors to really sell. Just you're watching this woman, being, terrorized by these guys, and but that's the point. You as the viewer, you should be like, this is hard to watch.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's what you want. So yeah, I would say, those.
Yeah, cool. All right, you pick one.
Okay. Let's see here. Oh, someone mentioned here, and I want to find it. Okay, Miki-san, Dave, Tony, live stream looks super clear tonight. New cameras, better connection. Dave, take it away and explain.
Yes. Let me see here. I was looking at something else. Yes. For those of you that are still in the chat room that are wondering why everything looks a bit different, one of the things that Tony and I wanted to do with your generous super chat money, because like I said, everything that we get through super chat goes right back into the channel. So, we were able to purchase, Wirecast, which is a professional, streaming software. It's the same software that, a lot of major, podcasts use. And instead of using Google Hangout or OBS, which we could have done, we wanted to sort of have a little more creative control over the things that we are doing on the show. And of course, Google Hangout doesn't give you very much creative control over anything.
But it was a good starting point for us.
Oh, absolutely, 100%, because it's free, it's easy, you just jump on and away you go. But with Wirecast, and this is just the beginning, and we just wanted to put something up quick, have a couple of graphics, a few transitions to make it more visually interesting for you guys. So what you see now is a step up from where we were, and what you will see in the episodes to come, by episode 35 and 40 and 50, whatever the case is, things will continue to grow and look a bit different because we want to keep things visually interesting. So the software is not cheap. And of course, it's US dollars. And of course, I'm paying in Canadian dollars. So that costs me more money because our dollar is only about 75 cents to your US dollar. So every dollar I pay is, or it's
a quarter. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, so it took a bit to sort of, compartmentalize the money that is raised, and of course YouTube obviously takes a percentage of that as well, and we were able to raise it and buy Wirecast Pro, so that's why things look a bit different. And at the beginning of the stream we had our intro, but there was a bit of a hiccup and we did the intro again. You probably heard us going, oh, wait, we live? No, hang on a sec, live. So that'll be all ironed out in the future shows. But yeah, that's why it looks a bit different. We're doing this for you guys to keep things visually interesting and more fun to look at and watch, and it's more fun for us as well. So yes, we are now broadcasting in 1080p instead of 720p, which is the maximum that Google Hangout will allow. So yes, that's why things look a bit clearer and sound a bit clearer, because they are. So, and it's thanks to you guys. That
really that's not, we're not, minimizing. It really is thanks to you guys.
Yes. Well, see, and the thing is too, it's not that Tony and I couldn't have gone out and purchased the software right away. But the reason why we didn't was because we wanted we wanted to show the contributions are going into the channel, and we wanted to show you guys that, to have benefit, that when you help support the channel, you're getting something back. And that's what we agreed on. That we said, do you want to purchase it now? We can just go purchase it. He said, no, let's save those super chats and put it towards doing that. And I thought it was a great idea. Tony was bang on with that. And that's what we've done.
Hey, listen, man, I can give you some of this for the super chat because you're taking your time. I'm like, no, dude, yeah. I'm back into, that's how my mind works. Whenever I earn money from my jobs, I'm putting it into my own shit that you guys are benefiting from on Instagram. It's not
exactly.
That's just the way my mind works. Like I don't need shit. I don't need to get money. Even though I'm
doing fine. But it's those things where that's what I want. And every bit of super chat that comes in, whether it's on the show or whether it's on, a stream that I'm doing, it all goes back into the channel. So that's why we wanted to do this, so you guys can see, oh yeah, it is actually doing that. So we appreciate, but you don't have to, right? The super chats are not mandatory. They're there if you want to. We just appreciate all you guys tuning in each and every week and supporting the channel by simply watching and asking great questions and having great conversations in the chat. That's one thing you've heard me say it 1,000 times, but I cannot say this enough. I noticed that the chats that you guys have amongst each other as well is solid. Like, it's really good.
Very
like there's
solid.
Yeah, like you guys are great. I don't know. I'm sure other channels get great people as well on their chat rooms, but it's always very sort of alive. The chat room's very alive,
interactive, and
yeah, exactly,
carrying on good conversations.
Yeah,
so.
exactly. So okay, we'll go for just a few more minutes. I gotta skedaddle in a few moments, but we'll go for just a few more minutes here. But yeah, so that's why it is new. So expect at least this is the minimum now, and in the coming weeks and shows, you'll see minor changes and additions here and there as well. So it'll be really cool. All right.
Slaughter Cinema, Dave and Tony, if you guys could film a movie anywhere, where would it be? I know my answer. I'll let Dave go first, though.
Well, I have always wanted to film a horror movie, but it's a psychological. You guys know me with mood and atmosphere. I would love to. I went and visited. Okay, there's probably a lot of places that I, could say, but the first thing that comes to my mind, in terms of location, my sister and my brother live on the northern shores of Lake Superior, one of the Great Lakes, and it's the largest of the Great Lakes. Mm-hmm. And so she's about a 14-hour drive away from me, and still in the province of Ontario. That's how big Canada is. But anyway, so it's about a 2-hour flight. And it's like it's in the middle of butt-fuck nowhere, but it's like it's your typical Canadian wilderness, but it's gorgeous up there. Not as gorgeous as BC with all the mountains and stuff, but it's just gorgeous up there. And anyway, so there is this island out on Lake Superior called Battle Island, and it's got a lighthouse there. And my uncle took myself and my girlfriend over. My cat did come in. Hey, how you doing, Veda? Come on in. She knows it's time to get off. My uncle took me out to Battle Island, and I just couldn't help. It's this lighthouse on this cliff on this island. And we're out there, and maybe because it was a cloudy day and we roll up onto the island, the only thing on the island is the lighthouse keeper. And he's got a house there. Like, it's not quite the Fog, okay? It's not quite that kind of setting, okay? That's like California ocean shit. But it's like that, in that sort of style. And I always thought to myself, I would love to shoot like a horror movie where these people have to go to this island by boat. It's the only way you can get to it. And it's the only way you can leave. And they want to go to this island because there's like a dinner party happening, right? But there's a storm that rolls in off the lake. You could say it was the ocean. It's so big you wouldn't even know the difference. And it rolls, and there's a storm that happens, and then people on the island begin to disappear. Is there something outside? Is there somebody else on the island? I don't really know. And anyway, it's a whole thing I haven't fleshed out yet, but I cannot help it. That is a concept that kind of gets me excited. Like, that would be a really cool location for a horror movie. And I know that, you can say, cool. Yeah, it'd be really cool. Like, it's kind of like a whodunit where, what's going on. The storm is rolling in, crashing against the waves. They got to go outside. They're supposed to be the only ones on the island. And anyway, just kind of cool shit. But Tony, what about you?
Right where I'm at in Georgia. I mean, when you look at the photographs that I've been producing here, a lot of people have messaged me. Like, for example, the recent one here that I did, the dream sequence with Freddie and the girl. People thought that was actually on a soundstage here in Georgia. Like, no, that's in a real abandoned mill in a real boiler room. And, all the other photos that you've seen me taking, these are in real practical locations. These are not sound stages that I'm getting access to and all this stuff like that. So I'm literally in the right location to do all of this stuff. And like Dave even said, with the lighthouse thing, that immediately my mind went straight to Savannah and Charleston, because both Savannah and Charleston, which is just a stone's throw away from me, have, those iconic Rockwellian like lighthouses that you've seen in paintings and shit along the shorelines, that also, if shot right, can create a really creepy, mood and atmosphere, as Dave would say, vibe to your movie. And you guys are actually going to start seeing a lot of this come to life for me in 2020. When I had mentioned this on Dave's channel before, when my best friend moves down here with his fiance, he's a writer. He's a great writer, and he loves horror films like I do. And we are going to start making short films to produce and put on YouTube, whether it's Nightmare on Elm Street short films, Halloween short films, original scary short films, no more than 5 to 10 minutes, not anything long, but shorts, just to whatever. We don't know where we're going to go with it, but that's the type of content that we're going to do starting in 2020. And I live in the right location to do all this shit.
Absolutely.
Right here for me.
That's right. Yeah, no, it's a great location for that. Yeah, you got some great stuff in your backyard for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oliver Mercer, thank you, Oliver. Super chat. Would you like to see a Grand Theft Auto film based in the timeline of GTA 2 and 3 games? How would you execute it different than the other gangster films? I have no idea. I love the GTA games because I like that they're open world. I can just drive around and tear shit up. But how about this? The area, okay, I live in Toronto, but the metropolitan area that encompasses, that surrounds Toronto, is called the GTA. It's known as the Greater Toronto Area. So I would love to see a video game called GTA, where it's like you're just driving around Toronto in the GTA tearing shit up. That's all I have to say about that. To your question, I'm not familiar with the hardcore stories of the games, so I can't really answer that. Tony?
Same. I've never even played them. The only video game, guys, honestly, the only video games that I've ever played is the old school Nintendo, the old school Sega Genesis games. And it's a very limited amount of games that I play. I'm an active person. If you see me on Instagram, I'm always out doing stuff. I'm this right here, this 2 hours that I do with Dave, this is the most I sit still in the course of a week. I just like being outdoors. I never really got into video gaming, but I see the graphics and the artistry and the shit that people are doing. It's amazing work.
Oh yeah, it is. It is. Yep, absolutely.
Here's one, because I know this question's been asked several times. James Gaxola, Dave and Tony, thoughts on Alien Covenant? Never saw it.
I have not seen it either. No, I have not seen it.
I only saw Alien and Aliens. Those are the only two that I've seen.
Yeah, and it's been a while since I've seen those too.
I've seen those. So that would be a good show to do.
Yes, it would. Yes, it would. That guy says, anyone excited for the Mortal Kombat reboot?
That's pretty much, yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. I got to wait to see more. Adam Carl Green says, guys, you like the film The Edge with Anthony Hopkins and Alec Baldwin. That's funny. I was talking about that. Was I talking about that with you last week? Or I think it might have been. I haven't seen it in a long time, but I remember liking it. I remember thinking it was kind of good.
This is a good question because I'm curious to see your answer. Mike Cornelius just popped up. Dave, what's your dream role as a voice actor?
My dream role as a voice actor.
What would be the epic role for Dave McRae to have on his resume that would be like, yeah.
Well,
I think the stuff that you've done, the stuff you've already done has been great.
Yeah.
Just in case if a client of yours sees this.
Sorry. No, I would say that probably. I can't say that I have any sort of dream job, but I think it would be really cool to obviously be a character on like a show like Family Guy or The Simpsons, or like at that level to be a consistent character, or just not even to be on that show, to be part of an animated show that and it doesn't have to like just a show that maybe is not that, but is does well and has some longevity to it, I guess. I know that's not really as they say, a sexy answer, but I've done movie trailers for Hollywood films. I've had that experience. I've done commercials and radio ads and online ads and IVR prompts and corporate presentation, e-learning, and I've done animation. but not at that level. So I guess that would be cool to do that. And I almost had an opportunity to like, I was part of a show that was, I think I talked about this. I was part of a show that was in production, and it was a kid's show though. It wasn't like an adult, show, geared towards kids like 7, 8, and 9. And it was going to be sold to Nickelodeon. But unfortunately, the producers that were doing it here in Toronto were unhappy with the animation. So I last heard. It had nothing to do with the voice acting, but they were unsatisfied with the animation. I thought the animation looked fine, especially for like 8 to 10-year-olds. I mean, it looks like, anything you'd see on any of the kids shows, it looked fine. But I think maybe in his mind, he wanted, like Pixar, or something to that level. Anyway, long story short, we did the first season, and I talked to the casting director, Susan Hart, who's an Emmy Award winner, and she was like, nah, she said, I haven't heard anything. It's apparently he packed up, went back to Germany, and I was like, oh, fuck. So that was disappointing because I've done a lot of animation. I've done a lot of supporting roles, where I've been like, I played a character on that episode and a character on that episode and a character on that episode of that show, whatever it is, right? Whether it's Doki or Fireman Sam or, whatever. But this was my first chance to actually get in from the ground up and be a regular. But it fell through, unfortunately. But that's the nature of the business, right? That's as Tony will tell you. I mean, that's the nature of the business.
One minute you got it, next minute it's gone.
Exactly. So
what about what about Joker? What if you were ever offered Joker in obviously animation?
If I was ever offered Joker, if I was ever offered a role like that, who's gonna say no to that? Of course, I'd say, "Oh, well, hang on, I gotta think." No, I'd probably go, "Yeah, I'll think about it, and I'll get back to you." All right, bye. All right, I'll do it. You know what I mean? I mean,
they'd probably go, "Who the fuck is this dude?"
Yeah, he's thinking about it. My agent, I got 2 agents.
Your agent would probably be like, "What the fuck are you doing?"
My agent would be like, "You got to think about this." I'd say, "Yeah, I got to think about it. You don't want to seem too overzealous. Let's just calm down. We're excited. Just calm down." Yeah, no, that would be cool. That would be cool. And anytime you get to do animation at any level, it's always fun, and it's a fucking workout. It's a hell of a workout, let me tell you. Holy shit, I was sweating buckets doing all sorts of characters. So dream job, I know this is a really long answer. I don't have a specific dream job, but if I had to pick something, it would be something to be a character on an animated series that had some longevity. But whether that's a character on Family Guy or a character on some kid's show that maybe you've never, heard of, but your kids love, awesome. I have a very thick portfolio when it comes to promos and trailers and commercials, but my animation side I'm trying to build up, and that's why I have 2 agents. I have an agent that is specifically for that. So we'll see what happens.
Patrick Olinger, Dave, Tony, would you want to be a horror movie director? Yeah, why not?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, if anybody offers me that, sure.
You know what? I wouldn't even mind doing like a putting your egos aside and saying, "Dave, let's co-direct a movie." You know what I mean? Like,
sure, 100% down for it.
I know it's unheard of in Hollywood to like co-direct with someone, but I think that's sometimes I've always said this. Sometimes when you work off of somebody, that's when you can really put together something really great. You know what I mean? And
absolutely,
especially when you have 2 people who are on the same page when it comes to delivering something good for your audience.
That's right. Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. And yeah, I mean, somebody offered me to direct a horror. It's funny. I say kid. He might not have been a kid. I say kid to just be. When I say kid, I mean like maybe a late teens, early 20s. But he might not have been. But it was kind of cute. He reached out to me. This is a long time ago. Maybe 6 months ago, and he wanted me to direct his movie. But he didn't factor into consideration that he would have to pay me, and I said, well, listen, but you have to factor in. He said, well, what do I have to factor in? I said, well, yeah, I said, I can't say yay or nay because I don't know what the story is. I don't know if I would be interested in it. You would have to, fly me to your location. You would have to put me up. You would have to fly me home. You would have to feed me. I pay for nothing.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, if I want to go to the store and buy, you know, something on my own, you know, that's up to me. But I think he didn't factor in that when you go to a professional, you have to, you know, you have to hire, you know, you gotta pay people, folks.
Yeah.
You know, not that I'm saying I'm a professional director in Hollywood, which I'm not, but I'm just saying that as a professional in the entertainment industry, which I am, you have to factor in those things. I mean, if, you know, you go to Tony and you know, you want him to shoot something, he's going to say, oh, great, I'd be more than happy to, but
exactly,
you know, you have to, you know,
I gotta pay the bills, guys, and I need to put food on the table.
It was just, it was cute. I felt bad for him, but I said, look, the first thing you got to do is get a script. I said, you have a great idea, get a script down, get it all sent it, you know, and then you just, you know, but I can't say, yeah, I'd love to do it. You know, I think he lived in Mississippi or something like that. I'm like, you're going to have to fly me out. You know, he's like, you know, can we meet? I'm thinking, can we meet? I'm not going to fly down there and just to meet on a whim.
Yeah.
Anyway,
one more. And you
want super chat. Yeah, one more. Super chat from Chris Baber. Thank you, Chris. Mad props to Tony's latest photos on Instagram.
Oh, thanks.
Honestly, if you guys are not following Tony Michael on Instagram, there's his right down there. You see right down there? That's below. Right. At Tony Michael Photo, he's got some awesome photos up there of Ghostface, Michael Myers, Freddy Krueger, and his own personal Vern, a character Vern that he's created. You guys got to go check out Tony's photos right now on at Tony Michael Photo. It's some awesome shit. Tony, you are doing some awesome stuff. Oh, wait. Tony left us. I'm not sure what happened. Tony left us. Let me see if I can get Tony back. This is what happens, folks. Tony is gone. Let me see if I can get Tony back. We might have to get Tony back here. 1 second. We will get him back. We will get Tony back. 1 minute, folks. Let's see if I can do this. 1 second. Okay. Oh, 1 second. Let me see if I can get him back. This is live, folks. This is live. Oh. I'm not sure what's happening. We're live, but I'm not sure what's happening. Tony is gone. He's gone. Maybe if he was to hit... Yeah, for some reason, that's not letting me redo the session. Waiting for connection. It's very fascinating. This is so interesting. I don't know. He's gone. Well, you know what? I'll tell you what. Just because I'm still getting used to the software, we're going to call it a night here. Tony had to check out. We'll call it a night. I'll reconnect with him quickly. And then we'll see you guys next week or next Sunday. This coming Sunday, we should be able to do it. Episode 26 of Two Dudes and Some Bullshit. Tony must have hit something, or maybe it just conked out. Who the hell knows? But definitely thank you for tuning in for episode 25 of Two Dudes and Some Bullshit. We think you guys are awesome. Thank you for the super chats as well. And I'll go find what the hell happened to Tony. Tony, where are you? He checked out. I don't know what the fuck is going on. Anyways, next episode, unless something major happens, Tony and I should be doing the Sleepaway Camp and April Fool's Day episode. Not 100%, but we're going to try and do that episode this coming Sunday. It's only 5 days from now, but I'll let you guys know about it if you follow me on Facebook and right here on YouTube as well. So, in the meantime and in between time, I will talk to you guys soon. I got to go find Tony. Where the fuck?